Meeting of June the 11th, 2024 to order. Next order of business will be to call the roll. Alderman Barnhill. Alderman Blanton. Alderman Caesar.
Here.
Alderman Peterson.
Here.
Alderman Berger.
Present.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Present.
Alderman Potts.
Present.
Alderman Baggett.
Present.
And the mayor's here. Everybody's here tonight. So we're going to start with the invocation. I'd ask that Alderman Barnhill deliver the invocation as we stand, and then I'll lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Alderman Barnhill.
Would you bow? Heavenly Father, again tonight we come to you in prayer. Thank you for this great nation. Thank you for this country and this county that we live in. We know that we are truly a blessed nation. We give you thanks for those blessings. But we do ask that you especially guard and help soldiers and families that are separated. We know that there's a great deal of turmoil in this country, in this world. We ask that you be with each of our national leaders. Give them the wisdom that they need to make the decisions that they make. Also, Heavenly Father, give us as members of this board the wisdom that we need and desire as we make decisions that ultimately affect the citizens of Franklin. In the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Prior to setting the agenda, we have one public comment, and I'm going to ask them to go ahead and come up and make their public comment. That's Mr. Weiss, and I'll give him 2 minutes to give his comment, and then we'll move on to setting the agenda and additional things. Mr. Weiss?
My name is Tom Weiss. I live on 2189 South Berry's Chapel Road, and I'm speaking on agenda items number 19 and 20, which are on the consent agenda. And first, I want to thank the board and the mayor for the preservation of South Berry's Chapel Rural Corridor with the action that was taken at the public hearing, and we really appreciate being heard and the action that was taken. I'm here today to just talk about a couple items to maybe align what was decided upon with the Preserve at Sheridan, aligning it with the considerations that were placed on Envision Franklin with regard to its appearance. And there was a special consideration in Envision Franklin. The second, it has to do with attaching itself to a county road. And so you should have received a letter from our attorney, Mr. Denton, and I'll just summarize a couple items. That were proposed condition number one was just basically saying that the Sheraton subdivision needs approval of the Highway Commission for Williamson County before it begins. We want to see how that's going to work on our road. The second has to do with the special consideration that was given to the Envision Franklin, that the front and the character of the front be in rural nature with appropriate fencing and any other type of road plantings. The third is to keep the setbacks as deep as possible on the houses. We know that these lots are not 2-acre lots as was put in the Envision Franklin proposal, but we'd like to have it stated that they have to be as far back as possible with their building envelope. And the third being that the connectors, which we really appreciate, were discussed last time, just be emergency connectors now and into the future, because you're talking specifically about this. Those are the items that I appreciate you listening to, and about that development. Again, really appreciate, this has been an education for me and the people I work with, and it's so nice to know that you have people that will listen and take action. Again, thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll now go to item number one, which is consideration of changes in the agenda and setting the agenda, and whether there's any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda. So if there are no changes, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Berger?
Let me ask something. The items 19 and 20, in order to speak to, I believe those were the items the gentleman mentioned.
Yes.
In order to speak to those, I think I would like to remove them. So I'd make a motion to set the consent agenda with removing items 19 and 20.
Alderman Berger, would you mind picking a place? That to be as part of your motion to,
At the end of the,
In order of the
yes,
numeric order.
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Alderman Baggett. Any discussion about setting the agenda and removal item 18 and 19 and 20 rather from the consent agenda? If not, let's vote. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We just finished citizen comments. I have no communications from the Williamson County Commission. We'll now go to approval of minutes from the May 14th, 2024 work session and Board of Mayor and Alderman, and the May 28th work session, Board of Mayor and Alderman. I'd entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Thank you, Alderman Peterson, seconded by Alderman Caesar. Thank you. Open for discussions. You want to make a comment, Alderman Potts?
Yes, sir. I will be abstaining from this as I was out on bereavement during the last meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, discussion, changes? Seeing none, you ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton. Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown. Yes. And Alderman Potts abstains.
Abstain.
And Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimous, well, passes with one abstention. Now we'll go on to recognitions, and tonight we have a special recognition for Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. And I would invite all those that are here for the proclamation to come up. Some special guests. So everybody should have their pen on, by the way.
It's a brain and a beaver for brain research. And there's no right way to put it on.
Well, yeah, so please listen up to this proclamation. Whereas Alzheimer's disease, a progressive neurodegenerative brain disorder, tragically robs individuals of their memories and leads to progressive mental and physical impairments. And whereas there are no known treatments to prevent or cure Alzheimer's, with nearly 7 million people living with Alzheimer's, and whereas Alzheimer's disease is the 5th leading cause of death in the United States among people age 65 and older, and 7th leading cause of death for Tennesseans, and whereas according to the Alzheimer's Association, the cost of caring for those living with Alzheimer's is projected to reach $360 billion in 2024, with over 11 million caregivers providing unpaid care. In Tennessee, nearly 369,000 family members and friends care for people living with Alzheimer's and other dementias, providing 499 million hours of unpaid care valued at $7.8 billion. And whereas in recognition of the individuals, families, friends, and caregivers dealing with Alzheimer's disease and the researchers who are seeking a cure, the City of Franklin acknowledges the efforts of the Alzheimer's Association in accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. And whereas the Alzheimer's Association works tirelessly to increase awareness, raise funds, and advance public policy to fight Alzheimer's disease and other dementias, therefore improving the quality of life for those living with Alzheimer's and their caregivers. Now therefore, I, Dr. Ken Moore, Mayor of the City of Franklin, proclaim the month of June 2024 as Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, and I urge all residents to wear purple in support of Alzheimer's Association and those living with Alzheimer's and dementia and their caregivers.
Two more. I got two of that.
Okay, are there any miscellaneous reports as I return to the dais?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I will share as I'm here. Last week, I had the opportunity to spend time with Mayor Black at Papillion, Nebraska, as we did a ribbon cutting and ceremony for the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. It is the first Vietnam Veterans Memorial in the state of Nebraska, and had an opportunity to spend time with him as well as some other elected officials. And I'm proud to say that we've got some great elected officials there in Papillion, Nebraska, and it was great to be there and present something from our behalf.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Any other miscellaneous reports? Seeing none, we'll go to the consent agenda as modified by setting the agenda, and I would entertain a motion to approve it. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Second by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton. Oh, Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
And Alderman Blanton. We're voting on the consent agenda.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. We'll now go to item number 5, which this is a public hearing consideration of ordinance 2024-15 to remove .18 acres out of the Central Franklin Overlay District and zone into the Columbia Overlay District 1 for the property located south of South Margin Street and west of Cummings Street, located at 314 Cummings Street.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is simply an overlay zoning district rezoning. It would not affect the base zoning district, which is central commercial. And the reason that this is being requested is because there is a development that is going to be moving forward in the future where this parcel is included in the development limits. But since it doesn't face Columbia Avenue overlay, it was never zoned into that overlay district. So this rezoning would allow it to be under the same standards as all the parcels surrounding it that span from Columbia Avenue to Cummins Street. And this would create a more cohesive development.
Thank you. Does anyone want to speak to this body on this issue? Not, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed and entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Alderman
Second.
Potts. Second by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton. Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item number 6, this is a public hearing consideration of ordinance 2024-16 to amend the budget of the city of Franklin for fiscal year 2023-24, establishing public hearing on June the 11th, 2024. And if I'm understanding correctly, I think, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm skipping ahead too far.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, good evening. Michael Walters-Young, your Budget and Strategic Innovation Manager, and welcome to Budget Night at the City of Franklin. Ordinance 2024-16 and item 6 is the beginning of 5 consecutive items that you'll have on the fiscal 24 and fiscal 25 budget. And before the city administrator presents next year's plan, we have to amend the current year's. You will note in your packets on Civic Clerk that there is a presentation that says amended, and that is the one that I'll be referring to, because as I was reviewing it earlier today, I realized that it could be truncated. And seeing that brevity is the essence of wit, I figured you all would appreciate that. So, on the screen, you see that you have 5 amendments. In the back of this presentation are all of the detail that you can review, and then I can certainly answer any questions on. But there are 5 amendments which this ordinance covers. They are revenue modifications, the addition of a 27th payroll, expense modifications, indirect modifications, or our administrative service funds, and the need to meet cash balance requirements to close the year. So Amendment 1 is very straightforward. It is a series of revenue modifications in 4 different funds that are a variety of in and outs. This is our true-up amendment on the year, so in order to keep budgets in balance and in order to meet year-end items, we either transfer revenues or we increase them. Of note, local sales tax is $2.25 million higher, and investment income is $3.1 million higher at the end of the year, budget-wise, compared to where we started. We've locked in those higher interest rates in our conservative investments, and we're starting to earn those now, and will continue to in fiscal '25, and we always make sure to be prudently conservative with our sales tax estimates, and we project that we'll come in within $1 million at the end of fiscal '24. Second is the addition of a 27th payroll. So if you take the calendar year of 365 and a quarter days, and you divide it by 26, it doesn't exactly equal than 14 days per payroll. We pay bi-weekly here at the City of Franklin, and so every 7 to 10 years, that accumulated number of days kind of catches up with you. So in order to make things convenient and clean from an accounting perspective, this is the year where you have a 27th payroll. That is roughly $2.833 million across the 4 operational funds. General fund is 2.3. Sanitation, stormwater, and water management make up the other 500,000. This will allow you next year in fiscal '25 to have 26 payrolls, and you will again in '26 and '27 until the next time the calendar catches up with you. That will result in, as Eric will talk about, that bizarre anomaly where the budget will actually be lower in personnel in '25 because, again, you'll have 26 payrolls and not 27 as you now have. Amendment 3 are year-end expense modifications. This applies to almost every fund. Highlights include higher personnel costs in the general fund to cover retirement settlements, higher police wages that you have voted most recently by the in April, as well as overtime needs in public safety. There are higher operational costs in the general fund, including for equipment replacement, facility needs, bridge repairs, and $1 million in ARPA funds for Franklin Housing Authority project. There's higher operational costs in hotel motel. Now, this was an amendment that was started and is no longer needed, but you have a budget and proposed in front of you, and so these funds will be appropriated at year end, but not actually spent for the 3rd and final piece of the Creekside land purchase, which is no longer happening, and a series of miscellaneous budget increases and modifications. Amendment 4 is administrative service funds. So as we've explained in the past, it is prudent in terms of accounting that we account for a portion of the time of administration, finance and budget, law, human resources, et cetera, that support the operational funds, namely sanitation, stormwater, and water management. So there's a budget line item built into each of those funds where we charge those departments, those funds, and 10 different departments have a negative amount of expense built into their budget to account for a portion of my time and Eric's time and Shauna's time, et cetera. We needed to review those, and it's a good thing to do every 3 to 5 years. And so our former management fellow, Ahil Rajpari, led that, and we spent about 8 to 10 months looking at it, and we realized that there's a need to lower those indirects. So the general fund will go up $1.3 million in expense. We can accommodate that in the '24 budget, which means when you compare it to '25, it will be apples to apples. Now, that's bad for the general fund, but it's good for sanitation, for stormwater, and for water management. Those funds go down $1.3 million in expense. And finally, we're transferring $1 million to the sanitation fund to meet year-end cash requirements as set forward by the state of Tennessee. This money is put into that fund in order to meet those requirements and is used only if necessary. On the screen, you see that there are 11 funds affected. The general fund, CDBG fund, and fleet replacement fund are exactly no change. They remain in balance. Street aid goes up by $120,000. Sanitation goes up by $1,098,000. Stormwater goes up by $37,000. The drug fund, the Hotomoto fund, the transit fund, and the debt service fund all decline in their fund balances, and the water management fund increases its fund balance at the end of the year to the tune of $689,000. There are 13 pages of slides of detail behind this, but I am happy to answer any questions that you may have on that before we move on to the next fiscal year. Mr. Mayor.
Thank
Have we
you.
had the public hearing?
This is the public hearing.
Oh, okay.
And the public hearing is still open, and he was giving his presentation, and now it's an opportunity for people that want to speak to this issue, and I have no speakers, so I am going to declare the public hearing closed and would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Second by Alderman Potts. Any discussion?
I just had one quick question,
Alderman
and it was
Caesar.
around the 27 verse 26. Is it fair math for me to assume that $2.8 million represents 2 weeks of salaries?
It is fair to assume that that is an average payroll in the city of Franklin.
And I was just looking at the payroll forecasted for 2025, and it's only 80 million. So the math is close there. Yeah? Okay. Just wanted to make sure, because I was trying to get those numbers straight. Thank you.
Any other comments? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to item number 7, which is consideration of ordinance 2024-17, an ordinance of the City of Franklin, Tennessee, adopting a budget for FY 2024-25, providing an effective date. This is the second of 3 readings, and I think that's when I turn it over to Mr. Stuckey, who is also going to, in his same presentation, address several other items following this one. So,
Yes,
Mr.
thank you,
Stuckey.
Mr. Mayor. This covers item 7, really in some ways, all the way through item 13, in terms of the different elements that are incorporated in the proposed recommended fiscal 25 budget. I'll go through this, and in lieu of the 480 pages of budget document, I'm going to give you about 12 slides. So hang with me, and it'll just take a few minutes to hit the highlights of this important document, who had its public start back in December when you all adopted budget goals. And from there, the Budget and Finance Committee and every single department took up that charge, and through January, February, March, and April, presented departmental budgets, requests, recommendations, and insight into what is required to serve our community at a high level and meet the needs of a growing, evolving community. So that brings us to today, where we have a proposed budget in front of you, and I'll run through that in the next several slides here. To summarize your list of goals, we really focus on maintaining a high quality of service to the community, providing and preserving capacity to meet the needs of our community and meeting quality of life needs as we move forward, investing in and planning for the future, and to maintain and build on our position as a highly competitive community. The bottom line numbers, when you look at all funds rolled together, is just a little bit under 227 million, so 226.9 million. As Michael referenced, that is actually a decline from the budget you have in front of you today by just a little over 5%. And then when you look at the general fund, which is our primary operating fund, that is at 112.2 million, which is a decrease of 1.6% compared to the fiscal 24 budget. I'll hit some highlights over the next several slides that just get at key parts of this budget overall. It is a balanced budget, both in terms of structural, meaning your ongoing revenues and your ongoing expenditures are in sync. It fully complies with your policies related to debt, and related to the maintenance of fund reserves to support our operations. We maintain and build on our level of service. We have a property tax rate that we are maintaining again this year at just over 32 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. That is the lowest property tax of any city in Tennessee with a population of 50,000 or greater. It is highly competitive when you look at the cities we compete against for projects and compare ourselves in terms of high quality of life and high performance. The budget does include some strategic investments in new positions. I would highlight in particular, we have a new internship program that is designed to bring new folks into public safety, specifically the fire department. We had a test run on that this last week with a camp for high school students, and we'll look to build on that as an opportunity to expose those coming out of high school into what the fire service can be for them as a route for public service and as a career. So this is an opportunity to give young folks a chance to come into the fire department and have that experience. We also add positions in police, engineering, and IT, and do add a couple positions in parks that will not go into effect until the spring of 2025 to line up with some new facilities coming online in our community. One other element that's unique to 2025 is a special census. We update our population with the federal census, and the city receives state shared revenue, which is essentially state sales tax that comes back to cities based on their population. We know we've seen growth in the last 4 to 5 years, and we want to capture it so that we get our fair share of our revenue, of taxes our citizens are already paying that we would get based on our population size. So we would look to update our population number to get that revenue. So we'd look to have that as part of this budget. A couple other things in terms of taking care of our people. Basically, we've got a base pay increase, market increase across the board of 3%, with an additional performance-based or merit-based pay component on top of that, which would be up to an additional 2.5% for our city team members. We have also enhanced, as you'll have another action item later in this agenda, that gets at establishing a separate public safety pay grade, and we have adjusted pay within police and fire to reflect a revised goal of being in the 90th percentile compared to the market in terms of how we pay our police and fire. And when we move to a comprehensive pay plan update a year from now in the fiscal 26 budget, we will look for that goal to apply across our city team. A couple other elements that are critically important to supporting our team. We've updated our longevity pay program and moving that from a reward that comes to our team members every 5 years to being something we do every year. We'll do it annually, and we'll also do it at the end of November. So it'll serve as an enhanced holiday bonus as well to recognize the long-term commitment of our team members and provide that longevity pay that is also competitive in the market. We are going to be able to hold the line on health insurance costs for our team members also in fiscal 25. Some other key components also on your agenda again tonight. We've got an adjustment to the residential trash and recycling collection rates, moving that up $8 to $31 a month. This will provide for a fully self-sufficient sanitation and environmental services operation moving forward, and gets us in sync with that in terms of the full need to run that operation. That is included in this recommended budget, and you also have a specific item for action on the agenda tonight related to that. Water and sewer rates will be increased based on previously approved rate plan, and that would be 3% in water and 2.5% in sewer, and those would go into effect on January 1 of 2025. One of the things you'll see throughout this budget is we provide performance measures and sustainability measures that get at the performance, not just what we spend, but what we achieve through the commitments that are made in the budget, and you'll see that throughout. I just always think that's important to highlight, that we try to focus on the impact in the community, not just the fiscal expenditures. One of the things that's also included in the fiscal 25 budget is some adjustments in our organizational structure, some things that I think will better align with how we function or should function now and will need to function in the future. There are 4 elements on this organizational chart that are highlighted, and I'll touch on those as we go through here. None of these involve increased staffing. There's no real financial changes, but it is a realignment in how we're structured. When you walk through this org chart, I'll start going left to right. You see we are establishing a new office of budget and performance. We're pulling some staff out of what is today the finance department to focus on both our budget, performance measure, and performance initiatives across the organization. And this office will take existing staff and form that team. Michael Walters-Young, who you heard from about the budget amendments and leads our budget process, will be the leader of that new office. We also will shift the emergency management office from administration into the public works group. There's a lot of interaction that happens in response to potential natural disasters or needs that we have that incorporate the public works function, and so that will report in through Mark Hilty, our Assistant City Administrator for Public Works, and will be part of that team. And then within finance and administration, we're making a couple modifications there as well. We will be establishing a new department called the Billing and Licensing Department. It is what is today known as the Office of Revenue Management, and we will create an independent department or a standalone department that will be part of the Administrative Services Group overseen by Christine Brock, and also will include shifting the human resources function into that group as well. Again, an internal service function that aligns with that group as well. So that provides, I think, an enhanced organizational structure will serve us well as we move forward. And again, better alignment to serve the community and serve our team. So let's just look at how the dollars we spend in the general fund especially break out. Again, it's just a little bit over $112 million. Where it comes from, over half of it comes from local sales tax. So the economic vibrancy that we see and those dollars really supports us in terms of the local sales tax. You'll see that second component is the state shared tax, which is also sales tax that comes back to us through the state of Tennessee. And again, is the reason we're going to conduct a special census to update our population numbers to get our fair share of that piece of revenue. And then the property tax is the next piece. And the property tax that goes in the general fund is what is left over after we pay our debt service obligations. And we have not issued general obligation debt in 5 years. And so we've seen some steady decline in debt service requirements, which has helped this revenue source grow. It grew by a little over 7% in the projected budget. And so that I just highlight that as well. And then you'll see a mix of other fees, interest earnings, those elements, grant dollars that come into the general fund to carry the rest of it. Now, where do we spend it? When you look functionally, nearly half is in the public safety realm, police and fire, and then you'll see a pretty equal distribution between our public works, our community and economic development, finance and administration components for the balance of those areas. And when you look at the categories of expenditures, over 70% is in the personnel realm, so salaries and benefits. And, we serve the people of this community through the people of our City of Franklin team, and that this budget reflects that. This just shows our performance over the last 10 years in terms of what we've actually seen, what we're projecting in this current fiscal year, and what the proposed budget supports. You'll see consistently living within our means in terms of revenue and expenditures, contributing to build a healthy fund balance that both protects us against economic downturns, but also provides capacity to avoid some issuing of debt to help support capital projects. So you provide for that cash to help be a pay-as-you-go revenue source for capital projects. So our team does a great job of stewarding these public dollars and both providing excellent services, but also living within our means. So to conclude, our budget provides for high performance in terms of the level of service to our community, keeps us in a strong competitive position. We continue to invest in our community and invest in our city team with a special focus in this budget on our competitive position as it relates to public safety employees. We continue to support the capital investment projects through the debt service and the special funds that help support those projects. And then again, we do end with a strong, well above policy level fund balance within our general fund, and a strong financial base to support our community now and well into the future. I'll just conclude by thanking our team. This is a team effort from the board through the Budget and Finance Committee to our budget team and everyone across the organization. Many folks put many hours into thinking about the best way to serve the community and putting a budget forward and requests forward that meet those needs. And I'm proud to present that to you tonight and proud of our team and what we strive to deliver to you and to the community every day. So I'll stop there and glad to take any questions. I know we have a public hearing as well, and again, thank you for your support and glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Stuckey, and this is a public hearing. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, entertain a motion.
Second.
Second by Alderman Berger. Motion made by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion, any questions, comments? Alderman Baggett.
I wanted to thank the staff, Eric and Budget and Finance, Michael Walters-Young and Christine, and all those department heads. This was, from the Budget and Finance Committee's perspective, I think it was a challenging year for staff to navigate some of the different changes. It did this in a 12-slide summary. You did fantastic. But I think it's important for the public and the board to hear that this was a challenging year in a lot of ways. I mean, if you think about the investments we've made in public safety compensation, as well as over the last couple of years, significant increases in all staff compensation because of the significant inflation we've seen and hyper competitiveness of our region, to keep the high level of staff that we have. I mean, that, it's a people business, and we did what we had to do, and I'd say reduction in overall budget's good in this day and age. Hopefully, you don't get to do that every year.
No, that's right.
So enjoy it, but the property tax remaining the same is also important. And I think, in this world where we hear a lot of clamor about fiscal irresponsibility, I think that the city of Franklin is demonstrating in this budget that we're managing the books well and protecting the taxpayers' money. So thank you.
Alderman Potts.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I too reiterate what Alderman Baggett has said, and one of the things I want to thank all of our team leaders and each one of the team members is their ability to look at the short-term and the long-term goals and giving us information as we're sitting on that committee, the 1 year, the 5 year, the 15 and beyond of what needs to be done and what their needs are and what's realistic and what can flex. And it really is a privilege to be able to sit down and see the operations and how they view it. And, so again, tip of the hat to all of our department leaders and the consistency and professional presentation that they've put together every single time. So, yeah, budget season this year, thumbs up, Michael.
Good job.
Any other comments? Mr.
Mayor,
Stevens?
let me just mention two things I should have included in the presentation. One of the things we do as part of this process is we stress test the budget. And so we do a 5-year outlook. And we do that with this budget, and it still performs well within your fund balance and your debt coverage elements, and all those pieces are well exceeded and met. So we don't just look at what it gets us through the year. We look at a 5-year outlook and make sure we can support and sustain what we put before you. But I also mention the department's put forward what we call program enhancements. So those are budget changes, adjustments, additions, and you get to weigh in on those. And you gave us a list of what you thought, how those weighed out. And of the top 15 that the board weighed in on, we delivered on 14 of them. We included 14 of them in this budget. So again, that may not happen every year, just like a budget going down slightly may not happen every year, but we work really hard to try to accommodate both what the departments have given us as their requests and needs, but also what you see as important needs in the community. So I didn't want to miss that because that was a lot of hard work and important work that got us there. And again, thanks to our team.
Let's hear it for the team.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, we're ready to vote. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton. Yes. Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 8, this is a public hearing, consideration of ordinance 2024-18, an ordinance of the City of Franklin establishing the municipal property tax levy for the fiscal year 2024-25, providing an effective date. Does anyone want to speak to this body? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Entertain a motion.
So move.
Thank you all. Seconded by Alderman Peterson. Thank you. Any discussion? Ready to vote. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton. Yes. Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item number 9, this is a public hearing, consideration of ordinance 2024-19. An ordinance of the City of Franklin, Tennessee to amend Appendix A, Comprehensive Fees and Penalties, Chapter 17, Refuse and Trash Disposal of the City of Franklin Municipal Code to increase the fees for collecting garbage and refuge. Does anyone want to speak to this body? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Alderman Potts.
Second.
Second by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion?
Can we have some discussion on this, Mayor? Would you entertain?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
So-
The public hearing is closed, and we've had a motion and a second, and it's now time for the board to weigh in.
Mr. Mayor, actually, Mr. Hilty had a brief presentation he was going to
Oh,
provide.
I'm
for you.
sorry.
Sorry about that.
Well, let's back up to that, and then we'll go to board comments, and I'll recognize, unless Alderman Potts would want to be recognized first, I'll go to Alderman Caesar.
No, sir. Go right ahead. And Mr. Hilty's presentation. Thank you.
Sorry about that, Mr. Hilty.
So, yeah, we just wanted to kind of review where we arrived at our recommendation for you all. So when we started the cost of service analysis, there were 3 things that kind of jumped out as the primary drivers, one of which was personnel costs. Since 2021, those costs have gone up 37%. This is because of an addition of 3 staff members out there. Of course, the pay study that we had performed, as well as filling of vacancies. The other piece was related to operations. The city benefited from a great hauling and landfilling contract for many, many years. However, it was not sustainable. So we reevaluated that and with our partner and ended up with new contracts, which of course are now sustainable, but we have long-term landfilling and hauling contracts for us, but that did drive costs. Lastly, the capital costs associated with equipment replacement has increased over the years. We renewed a focus on replacing our equipment based on life cycle, and that's primarily for safety of our operators, safety of the community, and reliability of the equipment. So sanitation does not have the luxury of, being able to stop halfway through a day, generally speaking, unless there's 6 inches of snow, and continue on and just pick it up the next day. So everything has to be done each day that it's supposed to be done. So when we started going through it, we started looking at a 5-year window, and as you can see, we're projecting deficits for the next 5 years, assuming we keep the rate where it is today. So out of that, we recommended what we refer to as option 2, and that's essentially that's summarized here in this slide here. So as Eric had mentioned in his budget presentation, that initial rate bump would be $231 for 2025, and then 2 years after that. That will essentially get us to self-sufficient department without any subsidy from the general fund. We anticipate dusting this off in 2 years and going back through this again just to ensure we're on the right path. So with that, I just wanted to, again, share how we arrived at our recommendation, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and recognize Mr. Caesar.
Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Caesar.
So my discussion begins on the diversion and right sizing of collections, and I know we've talked about this in a number of the previous sessions, but while the collection services to be fair for all is really my objective, and why I raise it is the simplest application of this fee is to increase everybody's, but the most appropriate, in my opinion, would be to look to right size it, maybe not at the individual, but at the property level. I know many of my colleagues have talked about the older population and that a significant increase going up $8 per month may not seem like a lot to some of us that are actively employed, but $8 may be a choice between whether to have another meal or celebrate a birthday for a lot of our residents, or even something more serious like whether or not to feed the children. And I've never seen a rate like this come down. And my concern and my hesitation is, as we see on this slide right here, it's going up, and 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 it's going up. And my concern is that it will never come down, and the biggest concern I have is that the driver behind these fees and the driver behind the increase is the cost of delivering operations, which rises almost 100%, 90+% over the next few years. The cost of personnel is going to go up, the cost of capital is going to go up, but the cost of operations dumping this waste is really where the bulk of our risk, I think, as a corporation, as a community, is sitting before us. And so I would strongly encourage us to think about diversion tactics to reduce the cost, $66.24 per ton that we project by 24, because I guarantee by 2030, that number is not going to be 50. That number is probably going to be higher. And we're going to look at continuing to push this price to deliver solid waste up on all of our residents. And I have a genuine concern that folks that live in a townhouse, or folks that aren't putting out clippings, that aren't putting out yard waste, that they're going to be shouldering an unfair cost increase. I have a home, a single-family home, with 4, 5, or 6 members living in it, depending on which month we're coming in, and we're putting out yard clippings, we're putting out little limbs, and we're putting out 2 full bins, a recycling bin and a traditional waste bin. And I have concerns that that $39 in 2029 that we've projected will probably fall short of what it really costs to deliver my service to the landfill, and it will exceed the cost of delivering service to those who live in a smaller home. So I would encourage us to think about, before passing this increase, I would encourage us to think about, is there a more complex but more appropriate way to assess these fees? Effectively, that's what we're doing, because there's not an opt-out, right? A resident of our community doesn't have the ability to opt out. We did mention that there are some that have, based on their need, can apply and receive some benefit, but that's 300 individuals. There's 90,000 people that live in our community. And I worry about us raising this fee unfairly on those who aren't using the services as much without really preparing our community for the future, which is, how do we drive diversion so that we're not dragging products up to the landfill or waste up to the landfill at the cost of $66 per ton? Thank you, Mayor.
Got the Vice Mayor, then Alderman Berger after that, please.
Yeah, I agree 100% with everything you said. I continue to struggle here. It's not, I understand everything's going to be more expensive, but what you presented is right. I get that. I just am still struggling. You know, water is metered, and therefore, you know, the cost went up on water, and I get it. We needed to increase fees, but it's metered by your usage. This still feels very much locked into me, and it does continue to increase and increase. And the fact that it just, there's not a consideration in there for tiering or opting out or some other way of looking at this. And I realize it's more complex. I realize it's harder, but I just still struggle with the flat application of fees. And I just still can support this one with just such a straightforward application.
Alderman Berger.
Yeah, I was getting ready to vote no on this tonight. I mean, I understand it. I get it. But you said that very well, Greg, and Matt, both. It's just not going to be fair and equitable to the people who are a one-person household, a two-person household. I mean, people that are retired, 2 people in a household are paying to make up for people who have maybe 4 or 5 kids, or 3 or 4 kids, or a household of maybe elderly parents living with them. They may be retired and have people living back at home with them, like their parents. So, and they're generating more trash with a 3 or 4 household grouping as well, compared to some of the other people. And let's face it, when people retire, and also, I mean, it's relative, but, people can generate a lot less trash because of their needs. I mean, and wants even, because they change. Trust me, I know. But I don't know what the answer is here yet, but I don't think we have been purposely looking at trying to solve this issue. And I think we have to do better before we vote on this. And as I said, I think everybody up here gets this, but I just, in good conscience, can't vote yes. Can't do it.
Alderman Barnhill.
Yeah. For some of us who were around when we did the blue bag,
Yep.
that was a diversion. That was not taken, that was taken out of the landfill. That was going to recycling. We've done the blue cans that we've got now. That was a diversion. That was taking it out of the landfill. So we have done our, as far as I'm concerned, we've done our homework. And I understand the verbiage that's being put forth here. What I haven't heard is how we make up what we don't have unless we take it out of the general fund. I mean, we did that. You did that if you go back 10 years ago. The general fund supported sanitation. That's how it worked. We've gotten where sanitation now, it is at a point being self-supporting. And, I might disagree. It sounds good. We're sitting up here. Looks good on TV. We're going to not do $8. We may do $4. But you still got to do something to make up for the $4 that you didn't pass. And whenever somebody gets up and says, I want to do something other, I'd like to hear the alternative from that person as to how we're going to fund this right here if we don't pass this particular rate increase here. If the numbers, that we can disagree with the numbers as far as what it costs to do business here, that might be something else. But if we disagree with what the numbers that's being furnished to us, and I have no reason to, so far, to suspect those numbers, that's what it's going to cost you right there. So, I know it sounds, well, I'd like to have it because I live in a townhouse. I'd be delighted if my garbage fees were half of the 31, well, make the increase 31, I get $15.50 then. So, but I haven't heard anything being said on how we're going to fund it. I've just heard a lot of, I just feel so bad. And I feel bad, but I need to know how we're going to make sure that we pay for what we're doing here.
Vice Mayor.
Despite the condensation and all that, I'll offer up at least one idea.
Yeah.
One is tiering. A lot of communities in the country do tiering. They do different size bins. It might be that a family like mine needs a big bin and we pay more. But somebody like my neighbor who needs a lot less uses a smaller bin and it costs a lot less. And maybe the numbers come out the same. I don't know. I would love some support around that. But there's a lot of cities in the country who tier their trash. They do different size receptacles, 32, 64, 96. They do different ways of looking at it. If you want an example, that's an example. There may be an opt-out. Now, maybe that costs a little bit more for other people who can afford it, but quite frankly, I don't mind paying a little bit more. I'm not arguing these trash dollars for myself. I'm willing to pay a little bit more, but I think some other people deserve to pay less. I think there are solutions out there, Alderman. I haven't seen it put forward yet.
Okay, then you need to make those solutions then when you make the other speech. And I will tell you this.
I've been giving those.
I will tell you this.
I've been giving those. I've been emailing those in. I've been talking about those.
I will tell you this. You have the option of buying 2 bins. You can do 2 trash bins now.
I don't
So
need
if
2
you-
bins.
You don't need to.
But my neighbor doesn't need a gigantic 96 ounce or 96 whatever bin. That's my point.
Okay.
You can disagree with me, Alderman, but
I
you
don't
kind
dis- I don't disagree with you. All I want to do is know.
Condescending to me is not fair.
All I want to know is how we're going to pay for this.
I have continued to say
At the
option
very
zero.
last minute. At the very last minute. Second reading, public hearing.
I've been saying this in work session, he's been saying it in work
Yep,
session. We
I
have been
have
saying
been.
this all along.
Yep.
No one is sneaking this in on a second reading. Everyone has been saying this all along. I've had emails that I have sent in. I have been asking for other options. I've talked about opt-outs. I've talked about tiering. So you can say what you want to us, but I'm telling you, we've been
Well,
saying those things.
I do normally say what I want to.
I know. Good.
That's not been a problem.
Not at all.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Potts, you were wanting to speak, or did I? Well, she's already spoken, but I was going to recognize you, but,
Yes, sir,
And I
thank
would
you.
like to speak also.
okay, thank you, Alderman Peters. I'll come to you next, and then,
Yep.
Yes, and thank you. And the purpose for me making the motion was, unfortunately, as I shared earlier, I was not here previously as we were out on bereavement. And so I had viewed our recording, but I wanted continued discussion tonight, recognizing that this was public hearing. And I appreciate the passion and the comments, and I know that no one is intentionally pressing anyone else's buttons. I know we act in a professional accordance. But I did have a question, and I know that we've talked about it, Mr. Hilty, and that what was the drawback? I know that when we initially looked at this, that it was the same cost to show up street side, to tilt and dump the trash can
So
across the board.
the
So
way we looked at it was the fixed cost was about 85% of the total fee.
Can't hear you, Mike.
Yeah.
Can't hear
Yeah, mic up.
Thank you. So the fixed cost is about 85% of the total fee. So there's that volumetric charge, if you want to relate it back to water, would be around $4 roughly. So,
And so was the study, was it reviewed at any point to consider going to, and I've seen it, Alderman Brown, Vice Mayor Brown, in other cities where they do have different size cans, was it reviewed at all of, number one, what the cost would be to buy those new cans to support such a program, and then also what type of variance in cost that it could be?
yeah, we didn't, so when we do the citizen survey, sanitation really gets high scores. We haven't been inclined to adjust the way we do things. I'm not opposed to adjusting, just want to make sure that we're all clear on that. But, you know, we I think generally do really well, so that's, we're kind of focusing on that set of services that we have been providing for a number of years. I will say that I just wanted to add the diversion piece too. We have a air curtain incinerator. We're looking at purchasing a second. We got started charging a fairly large tipping fee for wood waste, and using the air curtain destructors, you can reduce that tonnage by about 90 to 95%. So that was another diversion piece we looked at. So we are making adjustments along the way to make things more efficient. Our staffing has actually gone down over time. You know, I think I think we're, well, just prior to adding 3 positions, we were at the lowest staffing level for a number of years. So we are trying to do efficiencies. That includes using the side loaders, you know, trying not to have people in the backs of trucks because that causes injuries and all those other things. So we haven't had temporary workers on our staff for, I think, since 2020. And that's helped out a lot as well. So we do look at these efficiencies along the way. You know, so that's how I would respond to that in some of the discussion we've had. You know, and again, I'm here for you all. We're all here for you. And you know, how we want to move forward. You know, so.
So
Well, appreciate
I think
answer to
the,
that, but if I could just
Okay.
real fast, I do want to say, you're right. The highest score, some of the highest scores that we get is from sanitation. And this is not directed towards any of the team members. This is not directed towards anybody that's been involved. This is just a fiduciary responsibility is what we're looking at
Oh, I
right
understand.
now. So again, the value add is definitely there that those team members provide. And also the increase in technology said, which also has helped.
Yeah. I was just going to add the emphasis that 86% of this cost is fixed. I understand the sympathy and the logic on volume, but when the vast majority of your costs are set in by sending somebody by every house every week, you're really playing at the margins. You might have $1 or $2 or $3 variance, but the vast majority is a set cost with the people and the equipment to provide the weekly service that people rely on, and the depth of that service, in that we do everything every week. So you get into reducing service, which has to this point not been a direction we've seen, but if you want to get into that, we can do that. As Mark said, you all get to direct this, but it is not like water because it does not have the same level of fixed costs. It is dramatically higher. It's probably twice the level of fixed costs compared to the two. So I think that's why it's a little different. So I think that's fundamentally why there's not just a volumetric option is really probably difficult to justify, because you'd have to get different equipment and different bins and all that kind of stuff. And we certainly can investigate that further. I'm just not sure it's going to be a dramatic difference to the bottom line to residents. That fixed cost is hard to overcome.
Alderman Peterson.
Well, you've said a good bit of what I was going to say, because the expense there is the personnel and the equipment. It is not how much that it's going to the landfill. That is not it is a relatively small part of it. But the fact that you would have to pay personnel and you would have to have the same equipment if you were having somebody that had, your bin totally full and pushed over the top, or whether you had, this much, because sometimes we've had this much basically in our regular garbage, and almost all of the stuff was in, the blue bin. But as I say, the idea of having to have someone, a person, and the equipment that we have now, it goes for virtually everybody. I mean, for all the sizes or the amounts of garbage that is picked up. And for a number of years, the regular budget has been paying for a good bit of this. And I don't know how many years that's been the case, but I know that we have subsidized it. Not that that's necessarily bad, but if we're subsidizing it, then that means everybody's paying extra for that also there. But the fact is that the main expense is not how much garbage there is.
I've got Alderman Baggett. Let's see, then I'll go back to Alderman Berger and then Alderman Potts.
I think these are all, listen, I think there's a very important conversation about how we long-term divert trash and save in cost over time. I think that's a very worthwhile conversation to have. It's a very important policy decision for us to make. I think that if we're going to have a sustainable sanitation operation for the next 50 years that isn't these kinds of increases long-term, then we're going to have to do those kinds of things. But that's not the discussion we're having. I think this is illuminating those needs. I think our team has been working hard on those, and we just heard of one example that I thought, that makes total sense. And the side loaders, huge difference maker. The efficiencies that those have had, I'm sure, in personnel costs and efficiency and all the rest. I mean, when you get behind one of them, I'm just amazed to see those things, going up and down, and no one's out there spraining their backs anymore because, knock on wood, because we're doing it automated. Automation will be key in this. To not but we had a negative 1% budget in our general fund year over year, just by holding these rates the same. That flips that general fund budget over to plus. I think we fail, I think it's kind of, we don't want to, charge what it costs to the ratepayer, and it'll just come from somewhere. Well, it's going to come from the general fund. And that's where it's going to come. It will be diverted from, talk about diversion, diverted from the other priorities of the city that we have that don't have a revenue stream dedicated, and we don't have a sanitation fund requirement for it to actually sustain itself. Our general fund doesn't have to, it does, but we're required to have this not, self-sustaining. This is how you do it right now. I'm not saying that's how it's going to be long-term. We don't have to just be satisfied with this. We can do these things that I think we should. But $4 in variable rate, there's not enough meat on the bone to make it significant. I mean, there's not enough meat on the variable bone of the difference between fixed and variable cost for us to go out and spend money on. I mean, maybe it is, but not today. I mean, we're not going to come with it today. You're not going to bring us something, or even in the next year. And I'm not going to, we can go flip the budget general fund to be positive now and subsidize it by $2 and some change million or something, I think it said. That's just not, that is not fiscal responsibility. I'm here all day to find a way to change the trend long-term with all these ideas of different size things and technology. Maybe there's technology out there that we can do. I think this has been a helpful process for us to flesh that out. But we have a decision to make because July 1, we have a budget, and it's going to be $2.4 million short if we don't do anything. So I think we just really got to keep going, keep moving, and I would say, and I'd fully support, any kind of outside study or internal study to look at some different ways for long-term sustainable, because I think this board would invest in those kinds of opportunities long-term. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing the board is willing to invest in those things to keep people's rates down. I think, but it doesn't help us for July the 1st. And $2.4 million will be in the hole if we don't do this. And I'm not willing to do that. I think I'd like to look at it for 26 and see what comes up.
Alderman Blanton hasn't spoken, so
That's
I'm
right.
going to go ahead and
Yeah, sure.
recognize her.
Just want to make 2 points. Greg, I totally agree. I'm sorry, Alderman Caesar. I totally agree when you're saying if we raise it, it's never going to go back down. So I think we have to be really careful about the precedent we're setting there. Number 2, explain to me, Mark, why in every one of these scenarios, the tipping fee never increases, but every 2 years. Is there some wiggle room to make that be incrementally increased instead of jumping $5 every 2 years? Why is it that way?
So we're currently at $65 a ton.
Sure.
And that's kind of at the top end of where you're going to see.
Is that with
tipping.
Bi-County?
No, I'm sorry. So the tipping fee that we're referring to is the
Is what
commercial
we're
vehicles
receiving
that
in
come
revenue.
When
across.
people come and use
Thank
our
you.
transfer
Okay.
station, that's what they pay, yeah.
It's getting
So-
late.
It's a
Sorry.
market rate, yeah.
So that's a balance, if we go too high, we're going to drive away customers.
Yes.
Currently, commercial customers essentially, I'll use the word subsidize our.
They do. No, you
residential.
make
So-
money on this aspect to lower the rate we charge
I understand that. So why is there not an incremental increase every 2? So why would you jump $5, keep it
Yeah.
static for 2 years, and then, hey, guess what? We're going up $5.
So
Why would you not do a model where we're getting some relief on the monthly rate and going 65, 67, then 70, instead of it being on our citizens?
There's a fair number of unknowns going on in the landfill world in
Sure.
Middle Tennessee. And,
Mark, can you speak up?
oh, I'm sorry. I had to speak up.
really speak.
Yep.
You're a soft talker.
I know.
you gotta
I will
speak up.
project, as Margaret Martin always wanted me to do. So,
Use your outside voice.
so because of kind of that volatility with respect to landfills, it's really hard to nail down where it's going to go. You know, we're going to commit to coming back to you at whatever frequency you want us to come back. But right now, we're looking at every 2 years, and that may change. That rate may go up more quickly than what we've projected, but we also don't want to get that rate over competitors' rates, if you want to call them that, too much. Otherwise, we're going to lose customers, and then we're going to lose that subsidy. So it's.
But do you understand what I'm saying? $5 is a really big climb.
Yeah, we could look at making that at a different scale if you'd like.
It's the best estimate of what the market will allow us to charge. Right now, we're
On
at
paper,
60.
It looks unfair.
Right now, it's just what the market is, and 70 is probably aggressive.
Yeah.
So, but we think that it will probably go there because it is a very competitive market overall. You've got some things changing in the region. So it probably will bear that, but we didn't want to be overly optimistic. It's a balancing. So you could do that. It's still a moneymaker for us. It helps lower the cost on residents. But a $5 increment is how we have adjusted it in the past, just because that seems to be able to be absorbed.
Right.
It's a best estimate of what the market will allow us to do. And again, probably still be at the higher end of the market. But we certainly can tweak that number. It's probably not going to have a dramatic effect. But we can certainly play with that. But we think a $5 increment is reasonable and is typically how that has worked in the marketplace.
So I hope that answers your question.
It doesn't, but I appreciate the effort.
Thank you.
I've got
Go ahead.
Alderman Berger and then Alderman Potts, and if you want to weigh in a little more, I'll let you.
I'm not sure what to say at this point. I'm exhausted. I think we all are. I feel like we have to bite this huge chunk off and vote on it tonight with all these increases. Can we just do something for this year to next year and spend the year trying to decide and investigate and solve the problem? Matt, that you brought up, say, the different bends and rollouts and whatever we have, and spend the next year not voting on this whole chunk of increases, but just let's decide what increase we're going to do this year and put an increase in there. I'm not saying don't. And then next year revisit this whole chart for the year after year after year that we need to do, so that we have time to really delve in this and take a year to come up. So next year when we're sitting here at this time, we might have some better options. Because I feel like we all are between a rock and a hard place, because we feel like we need to vote on this. We need to increase the fees. I get that all day long, but it's a big chunk to vote on. All these different scenarios up to 2029?
What's before you on rates is 2 years of rates with a 5-year plan. It's similar to what we do in water and sewer, but you can do whatever you want to do with that.
Yeah.
But that, I'm
I
just
know.
being clear what you're being asked to vote on.
Well, I'd like to know if my colleagues on this board want to just do an increase for this year. And I don't know what that would be. Mark, would that be sufficient to do $5?
I mean, it's up to you what you all want to do. I mean,
So-
we'll-
Yeah, you'll end up having, anything short of the $8 will end up being some form of transfer from the general fund
so we could
to fill the void. So, and a dollar of rate is roughly 300,000 of revenue. So
Yeah.
go down from 8 and do $300,000 a dollar, and that'll give you at least a ballpark of what kind of general fund subsidy you're going to need, based on how we're structured at this point.
So looking at this chart, at this table, the shortfall is approximately $2.5 million. So if you do $4, it's going to be $1.25 million shortfall, roughly.
Well, I'm looking at
Can we
this.
move on to Alderman Potts?
I'm looking at this, yeah.
Can we move on to Alderman Potts, or you through speaking?
Well, I'm just looking at these rates, 23 up to 39.
We're not
I
voting,
still don't know.
we're not, those are projected numbers.
I know they are,
But
but they're.
we're voting on the 31, and I would say, to your point, though, maybe in a year, we can look at it next year, not wait 2 years.
Sure.
See what the reality is on the ground related to the tipping fees, I think, in the market there, I think there will be change. If you read the news, the landfill markets,
Yeah.
pun
that's true.
intended, a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And like, there's going to be changes in the market, and this needs to be looked at next year. So,
Okay,
to your point.
So if we vote this through tonight, we're not going to be beholden to every year after that.
So if
I wanna
It's up to you.
If I may, so currently, as Eric had mentioned, the ordinance is for a 2-year rate increase for FY, or for calendar year 25 and 26.
Yeah.
And then there's an item, I think 2 items down, that is related to the 5-year rate plan.
So it's 20,
So
25,
you're
26.
welcome to change it however you all would
26.
like.
But the rate, are you planning off the rate?
We would plan off the rate plan and bring a future ordinance to you to, once we check back in on the rate study, and recommend
So it's
rates based on that updated study. But if you want to do it, if you want us to come back next year, that's certainly
Yeah,
something.
we followed the model that we do with water and sewer, which is have a 5-year plan, but ask you to implement rates 2 at a time.
So our 2
But we
years-
can do it,
So-
if you want to do it a year at a time at this point,
So
because of
this
the
is-
uncertainty, we
If we
can.
did the 2 years, it's $10.
Correct,
Yep.
the way it's
That's
currently
correct.
written.
And then we can revisit possibly solving this problem to do something else with.
Raise it 5 every year?
Could raise it 5 for next year, and raise it 5 the next year, but we are beholden, this board, I hear us talking about that we're beholden to tackle this and solve this problem, so in 2 years from now, we might have better solutions.
A $5 increase would still leave $1 million budget, $900,000
Well, that's
deficit.
what we're getting here. I
Yeah,
mean,
you bet.
this is what it says. It says 23 to 31 to 33. That's 23 to 33 in 2 years, it's $10.
Right, but this year, with just a $5 rate, we would still have $1 million budget deficit
Yeah, it
in the
does.
general fund
At
this year.
least.
At
Yeah,
least.
probably a
At
million.
least.
Because
Sir,
it says
Can I go ahead and go
That's right.
to Alderman
Well,
Potts? Are you
I'd like-
through, or?
I'd like to just say that option 2 that you put up there before, if you look at it, it's not up there right now, the deficit is 7,000, is that 7,000? 762.
So the full $8.
Yeah, I just wanted
So
to.
we still don't balance.
All right.
The timing
Have
affects it,
Alderman
but
Potts.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't have solutions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's been a lot of good dialogue, left and right of me right here. Somebody's been reading my notes, one of you, because a lot of what's been said is where I wanted to go. If we go back to slide 3, this is the important thing, and if we put this on for people that are at home, this is what we're talking about. And Alderman Baggett said it, I was thinking it as well, but that, if we do nothing, we are short $2.5 million. That is actually one of the sidewalk projects that we were talking about tonight. All right? If we don't do anything, we're putting ourselves in the hole. We've got to do something tonight. And I agree, I know with Mr. Hilty's leadership and his team, that we can start looking at this annually as we move this forward, because there are some great ideas up here. I actually have been part, Matt, Alderman Brown, of a program where there were different size cans and different type of recycling options. And it did work. Now, do we need to do the study? Absolutely. But right now, we've got to do something. Otherwise, we're going to be in the hole, $2.5 million. And I know that accounting and our budget and finance team is not wanting to just take it out of the general fund and rob Peter to pay Paul. So as we're looking at this, I'm going to ask that we review the revenue and expenditures on an annual basis moving forward.
Yeah.
We look at good technology to see what we can do, because as we said, it's 85% is a fixed cost for us, and how can we decrease that? And I've even put out there, when I did it when we did Budget and Finance Committee, and I also have done it outside of that, is looked into the heaviest item that's in there, which is glass. And what can we do to take to Alderman Caesar's comment earlier, how can we remove the glass as a weight and take care of that locally. And as I'm looking at my other one here, I found something as we have been doing this, and I feel like previous boards have done a great job. So my hat and my hand is out to all of our aldermen who've been here for a while, but I feel like we're looking at fees that haven't been touched in multiple years, 5 years, 10 years and greater. And I want to make sure that we have a cost of living increase for our fees as we continue to move forward. And I know that we've talked about it, but I wanted to say it again tonight. So I'm recommending that we go with option 2. However, we revisit it next year and we look at and seeing what the new options are based on technology, based on new resources, and based on how we can get less into the landfill.
Okay, I've got Alderman Barnhill that's been in the waiting.
Skip it.
All right, then,
Yeah, I'm out of breath.
I'll go back to Alderman Caesar.
Why let a good thing go, Clint? I would say, before I agree to take $8 from our residents unilaterally, I would want to do the study. I'd want to do this at home as well. Before I go out and buy something that's more expensive than I can afford, I'd want to actually research the options to see if there's a less expensive alternative. And I feel like we haven't, but we're running to try to make this $2.5 million up for the budget, and maybe we're making a hurried decision on something that a lot of us are still not comfortable with. And that always causes me to pause when everybody's saying speed up, speed up, speed up, speed up. It makes me go, hold on, let's slow down. I think before I go and take $8 from every single resident without their ability to opt out, I think I'd want to complete the study to look if there's alternatives, where some may only have to pay $6 and others may have to pay $12. But I think I'd want that before I unilaterally take that money, because I've never seen us reduce it and give it back to them. So next year, when we come back to revisit this, I'm going to bet donuts to dollars or dollars to donuts that if we go to this 31, we're not going to reduce that rate next year. We're not. It's a one-way train and it's moving up. Do we need to address this? Absolutely, we need to address it. My hesitation is addressing it just to get it done. Because whenever somebody says, let's just do it to get it done, it makes me take pause. And so I'm not going to be voting for this tonight.
If I might interject just a bit of history. In 2007, when many of us came on this board, the property tax collection was over $5 million. Every single penny of the property tax in 2007 went to subsidize solid waste. Now, there have been a lot of things done to address diversion, and that started with blue bags, and now it's progressed to the rollout cans. I'm not sure, 100% sure about my numbers, because I haven't checked them recently, but at one time, we were diverting about 20% of our solid waste, and we had about 70% participation of the residents in Franklin. Those are outstanding numbers, particularly the participation rate. On slide number 2, where it says operations, it talks about what it costs for us to dispose of municipal solid waste, $37.03. I think that's our current contract. And that's projected to go to $66.24 in just 5 years. We have another problem is that all the landfills in Middle Tennessee are filling up. And many of them are going to close in the next 5 years or less. We're lucky. We have a great agreement with Bi-County. And I applaud the staff that they've done such a great job on negotiating those contracts and also negotiating our recycling, which recycling is another whole issue, is that China quit taking our recycling, and hopefully that market's going to open back up. I think there have been some great suggestions, and we've been chasing glass, and I know they've had a lot of discussions in the Sustainability Commission about glass. I talk to other mayors about glass all the time. Some people are using crushers, and they're using the glass for other things. So I'm tired of chasing general fund money into the solid waste fund. We just put $1 million in that tonight. I mean, that should be pretty sobering, that it took $1 million to balance that so that we complied with the state. So that's my little history as far as this goes right now. So for whatever that's worth, you know, I think we're all open to exploring what technology's out there. That's going on right now. I've been on a strike force with Commissioner Salyers and some other mayors that are looking at some other solutions. Commissioner Salyers charged us with finding some legislative solutions within 6 months, and we're not there. There may be some other novel solutions down the line that are being explored that may be interesting, that they're still in a stage where, you know, it's not really being discussed publicly quite yet. So that's where I'm at on it. I think this is something we have to do, and I think let's look at it again. I mean, that's what we have the ability to do. Let's look at it again next year. Let's find out what we can do to investigate what other communities are doing, and let's vote.
May I
Move
leave us
previous
with
question.
a word of encouragement?
I had a move to consider the
I'd like
previous question.
to leave a word of encouragement.
We'll go for a word of encouragement.
May I just want to say something here. I knew there was a website, and I looked this up real quick. It says, in communities with pay-as-you-go throw programs, also known as unit pricing and variable rate pricing, residents are charged for the collection of multiple solid waste, ordinary household trash, based on the amount that they throw away. This creates a direct economic incentive to recycle more and generate less waste. Traditionally, and this is only 2 more paragraphs, they're very short. Traditionally, residents pay for waste collections through property taxes and/or a fixed fee, regardless of how much or how little trash they generate. Pay-as-you-go breaks that tradition by treating trash services just like electricity, gas, and other utilities. Households pay a variable rate depending on the amount of services they use. In closing, most communities with pay-as-you-go charge residents a fee for each bag or can of waste they generate. In a small amount of communities, residents are billed based on the weight of their trash. Either way, these programs are simple and fair. The less individuals throw away, the less they pay. EPA supports this new approach to solid waste management because it encompasses 3 interrelated components that are key to successful community programs. Just want to say.
Do they
Call the question.
measure, do they,
He called the question.
Move previous
What's that?
question.
Do
We're going to
they-
recycle my
Yep.
move
do
previous
they weigh
question.
every can?
It's not debatable.
Is there a second
I'm not there
to
to
call the question?
Yes.
Yes,
All in
second.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Alderman Barnhill, how do you vote?
Yes,
Alderman Blanton?
Option, right?
the
We
$8.
have no options.
This is to call the question.
Yeah,
This call.
No, this is,
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
This
Voice
is the
vote,
ordinance.
and
This is
I
the
know it's your-
motion.
You do want a voice vote on calling the question?
We did.
That was just fine, sir. You're on the ordinance itself now, right? Is that
Yes.
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah, you do not need a roll call as far as I'm concerned.
Alderman Barnhill voted yes. Alderman Blanton?
Call the question?
No, this is to
Option 2.
approve
No.
option 2.
No.
Alderman Caesar?
No.
What?
It's item 9. It's, the motion is item 9. That's what it
As
is.
it's written.
It's written as a,
that's all right.
Alderman
Do I need to
Peterson?
clarify?
no.
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
No.
Vice Mayor Brown?
No.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Alderman Moore votes, not Alderman.
Going back a few
I
years.
vote, I want to break the tie. I vote yes. I think this is the correct thing to do. We don't need to continue taking money out of the general fund to supplement this. I know that staff and this board is going to look at this very, very carefully now, going forward and find ways that we can control this cost. And so it passes. So we'll move on to item number
Not good? Not good.
10, which is Resolution 2024-32, resolution of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the City of Franklin adopting the estimate of revenues and expenditures for water and sanitary utility fund for fiscal year 2024-25, providing an effective date. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? Ready to vote. Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice Mayor.
Yes.
I'm sorry, was your vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item number 11, this is Resolution 2024-39 to adopt a 5-year rate plan and cost of service study for the Sanitation and Environmental Services Fund, FY 2025 through 2029. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to defer to, gotta give you a date, excuse me. July 23rd.
Second.
There is no meeting July 23rd.
Thank you, I
Sorry.
didn't know that.
I guess I won't second.
That might be a great time to defer it to.
How about,
Take that back.
August 13th?
Second.
Appropriate motion second. Any discussion?
Yep, this is the,
5-year plan
for fire.
for sanitation and a study.
Well, now,
What is the-
we're not gonna get the study done.
Yeah,
in
we're-
that
we're-
le-
we're-
that's-
in that amount of
study's
time.
gotta be a
It's a
lengthy
lengthy
study.
time, yeah.
Yes, this is ordering the study in a 5-year plan.
This proposes a 5-year, this action here proposes a 5-year plan based on the
What we just
study we
did.
just did. So if you want us to do a further study or different, that might be a different motion. Or if you want to not do this and have us do a study and revisit it.
Out so we have more
Yeah.
time to think about options.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do 6 months? I mean, Mark?
We can, it's hard to say how much time we need. So we could let you know by August 13th,
How about we go?
you know, and then you end up deferring again potentially, but that would give us some
Yeah.
time to think about the step way forward.
Yeah.
I didn't do January.
Everybody clear that this,
Thanks.
your motion is to defer till August 13th, Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 12 is consideration ordinance 2024-24, an ordinance to add a new Chapter 11 to Title 5 of the Franklin Municipal Code to create a billing and licensing department and office of the billing and licensing director. Is there a motion?
Move for, yeah, go ahead. You go.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second by Alderman Potts.
Didn't even let her have the.
Any discussion?
let her have the second.
I don't need to say.
Ready to vote, Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown. Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 13 is Resolution 2024-44, authorizing staff to pre-order certain equipment proposed to be appropriated in the FY 2025 budget. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Alderman Caesar.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion? Ready to vote, Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 14 is Resolution 2024-48 to establish a public safety compensation classification plan for police and fire departments by rescinding Resolution 2022-45 and 2024-25, which adopted the current compensation classification plan, adopting a public safety compensation classification plan, and adopting a new compensation classification plan. Wow. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. There you go.
Y'all got the easy job, just saying, move, so move. Any discussion on that? Ready to vote? Alderman
Yes.
Barnhill. Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 15, City of Franklin contract number 2023-0182 with PMA Management Group to extend third-party administrator services for the City of Franklin Self-Insured Workers' Compensation Program. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Alderman Potts. And
Yes.
is there a
Second.
second by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 16 is an amendment 1 to City of Franklin Contract 2023-0182 with PMA Management Group to extend third-party administrative service for Franklin Self-Insured Workers' Compensation. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Baggett, second by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion? Ready to vote? We're going to start on the bottom of the list. That doesn't mean anything.
I'm used to it.
I like to start on that other end. Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Caesar?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Barnhill?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Now we're going to consider appointment of Scotty Bernick, who's in the audience tonight, to the Franklin Transit
Hang
Authority.
in there.
We tried to delay this approval so much.
Move for approval.
Second.
Second, who was it second? Alderman Caesar.
He gets extra credit for hanging in there.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's not his first rodeo. He stayed till the end.
Ready to vote?
Give me home.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Congratulations, Scotty.
Go save us some money, Scotty.
Next is item 18, reappointment of Mayor Ken Moore, Alderman Brandy Blanton, and Eric Stuckey to the Williamson County Convention and Visitors Bureau. Is there a
Move to
mo-
approve.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Seconded
Second.
by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Vice
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to item number 19, which is consideration of ordinance 2024-09, an ordinance to zone 35.95 acres plan, PD District 0.30 District, and Hillside Hillcrest Overlay District, and to rezone 16.66 acres from residential R1 District to Planned PD .30 District for the property located west of Franklin Road, south of South Parish Chapel Road at 2247
Should we annex
South
it before we
Parish
zone it?
Chapel Road. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I know you set your order, but we really should probably annex the property before we zone it.
20 should happen
We
first.
did that.
So it was on consent together, it didn't really matter, but now you're doing it. This
Okay.
order, you probably need to do 20, then 19.
We'll remember what you just read, though.
Yeah.
You don't have to
That's
read
true.
that.
Well, we're still talking about the same property, but now we're
Yeah.
talking about the annexation of that said property.
Well,
So I wouldn't-
technically, I think you're going to have to amend your agenda if you care. I mean, because your procedure now is to amend
Okay,
your agenda.
motion, go ahead.
Sorry, but that's what you've
ahead.
done. So you have to switch them.
Well,
Mr.
Make a
Mayor, I'd
quick
like to
motion.
make a motion to amend our agenda as it was previously set and to reorder the item listed as number 20 to precede the item listed as number 19, allowing us to vote on the annexation of the property listed and then to vote regarding the rezoning.
Second.
yeah, second.
Second by Alderman Baggett. Can I get up by with a voice vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. And so we'll now go to the annexation of the property. I read about a few minutes ago, so is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion?
All right, I don't think any of these conditions, number 1, 2, 3, and 4 that they sent us, really has anything to do with the annexation. Oh, well, wait a minute, yes, it does. The proposed condition on number 1, I just wanted to understand this, okay?
Tell everybody what you're reading.
Yes, I'm reading from, well, it actually does say rezoning on here, but it would be the annexation because let me just read this for you and then tell you how it relates to annexation. An approval of the rezoning of Sheridan to a planned PD 0.30 district is conditioned upon approval of the Highway Commission for Williamson County as to any new proposed access points on South Berry's Chapel Road, given that South Berry's Chapel Road is a Williamson County road and not a city road. So when we annex this, if the road belongs to the property owner, which I do believe at this place it is, then the property owner has asked us to annex in the property. So if that is the case, is not to the middle of the road also, or the road entirely, I don't know, to the middle of the road, also annexed in with this property?
I'd have to look into the legal description on the actual ordinance, but typically, we have not annexed any right-of-way since 2012, because in 2015, the annexation law changed such that we had to have property owner consent, and in the majority of cases, the county does own the right-of-way, but we have not been able to get a request or permission from them to annex right-of-way at this juncture. So if this property owner owns the full right-of-way, we could annex it, but most likely that's only to the center line of the road, and we don't want to only annex half the road.
And I would also add, it's a public road. You don't need to annex a public road, whether it's county or city.
Who's
It's an existing public road. It's a county road, it's a public road. You don't need to get into the box of having to annex their road.
But it says upon approval. Have we
Nope.
gotten approval?
That's what
by
You
the-
don't need it.
recommend
You don't
to
need
do
it, and I would suggest you don't go down that road,
Okay.
literally.
Because I did not know how in heaven's name we're ever going to get approval, and, which I would not recommend either, but I thought.
It's a public road.
But I thought when we were annexing it in, if the owner, we should have known that. We should know if the owner owns to the middle of the road or the entire road. We really do need to know that when these things are brought forward to us.
Typically, it requires a deed search and an attorney to do those things, so we don't normally do those as
Then-
part of the review process.
Then we have no power to control them to improve the road.
We can require, with the plan of service, you could add a condition or add a statement in the plan of service that you would like the right-of-way annexed into the city, and we could do it in the future. That's been done before with Parish Presbyterian Church, I believe.
Right.
But we still have progress reports that are outstanding on that property because we have not been able to get consent from the county to annex that right-of-way.
All right, so we have an access point, correct? Okay. Yeah, I was just confused by that because usually I thought that we were able to annex in the road if the property owner owned it and requested it. So that's, and when we got sent this, I thought, well, we need to answer that question. So, but I would not, I'm with you, Eric, I would not recommend that we go and get approval.
I'm going to call the question.
Yep,
Thank
sure.
you. I'll give you a second.
Thank
That's
you.
what that
All in
thank you
favor,
meant.
say aye.
Aye.
All right, let's vote. Passes unanimously. Well, I didn't ask anybody opposed. Anybody opposed?
No, sir.
Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes,
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to item number 19, which is ordinance 2024-09 concerning zoning of the aforementioned property, which I read before.
Move
So I'd
for
entertain-
approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion?
I just wanted to know about the setback. They asked about the setback, and I thought we already discussed that. We did? That's already done. Okay, I'm good.
Ready to vote?
Don't make a big deal out of it.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Is there any other business? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Alderman Potts. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.